everyone. Welcome to our monthly tech team meeting. Let us begin with prayer, recognizing that in the here and now, we find the wisdom that we seek. And as we move into this meeting, we appreciate the different environments that we all work with and how we recognize the different skills that we can bring to our team. We are appreciative of the opportunity that we get to serve our churches and serve in a capacity that is meaningful and graceful as well. So we say thank you for all the wisdom, all the understanding, all the knowledge that comes together in this 1 hour a month. And so it is. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So let me see. I think so. Lane thinks, I just texted Lane. I think it was about the presentation software.
Oh, okay.
So without her being here,
Yeah.
I am wondering. Hold on. I have some. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. I gotta do a couple of things. Reset my camera. So, Owen, why don't you talk a little bit about Wirecast and what you specifically appreciate about it?
Wow. Wirecast was the first multi-camera software that I started using, and I know it really well, and I'm very familiar with it. So that's what I appreciated about it most. Also, they have support. You pay it's about $100 a year, and they'll answer your questions or deal with your issues. And one of the things I like about it is that it's a software solution. Once you have a way to input the cameras into your computer, it's all software driven, and so it's very flexible. You can create scenes, combinations of cameras and graphics and slides and whatever you want, and switch to them, or you can it's like a camera switcher, and you can control the speeds and everything else. It's not hardware driven, it's software driven. And they're constantly updating it. And, there are a few issues, but it was what was available. When I started here, it was what was available when I started in Hawaii. And it still works for me. So I haven't seen a reason to change.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm just pulling up your profile, and maybe you can talk a little bit about the profile that that we have on our website, the Unity techteam.org website.
Yes.
Because it's really good, and I don't want Eldon to talk a little bit about ProPresenter, because there is a significant difference between how you set up your equipment and how you use Wirecast in comparison to how we use ProPresenters. So Owen, do you just want to talk a little bit about, your setup and how you came to arrange it the way it is?
Yes. Well, my little control area in the back of the chapel is completely exposed sound-wise to everybody in the chapel. So I can't direct camera people. with my voice because everybody would hear it. Unlike the situation we had in Hawaii, where we had a soundproof room and I was sitting in front of monitors and could tell camera people what to do. And so the issue was how to make a system that worked, how to actually have camera 1, camera 2, camera 3 pointed in the right direction when I wanted to switch to them, seeing the right things that I wanted. And I tried working with a camera person and tried using hand signals, and it just didn't work out very well. So what I realized was that in our situation, it made sense to mount all the cameras side by side with long arms. I had to put them way up high so they get over people's heads, and uh, and remote controls on each camera arm, and for me to do it all myself, including the house sound. So what we ended up compromising with, and it's worked out pretty well, is we preset the music performers and their sound. That usually have 2 or 3 vocal mics, and then plug in instruments, and we just preset that, and then the people who are reading stuff or giving the message are probably 8 feet away from the band, and they use mics that are very close to their mouths. We use headset mics for the main speakers, and then handheld mics for people who come and go. And so we redid all the speakers so that there aren't speakers behind the microphone, so we don't have to worry about reverb too much. So basically,
tell me a little bit about, so when we're looking at your profile.
Yes.
So we see in the middle, kind of like, I don't know if you can see my mouse or not,
yes,
but
yes.
where the Dell PC is, you put in there Wirecast. Obviously, you're running the Wirecast on your PC.
Yes.
And help me understand, what's really happening. So your 3 cameras, their signal is actually input is basically an input into the Dell PC. Is that correct?
That's correct. Each camera has its own input, and it runs through the DeckLink Duo card, and comes into Wirecast as separate video inputs.
So basically, Wirecast then is really you're using Wirecast in a way where you are capturing all the input, including the audio.
Yes.
I mean, we can see here that you have the Behringer X32 and the Yamaha, to separate between, and we talked about this before, that it's important to have a separate mixer so that we can mix the live stream separately from what the in-house needs. Hold on.
Yes.
So you have your camera input, you have your video input, you have your audio input, all coming into your Dell PC.
Yes.
That's all managed by Wirecast, and then you're putting it out into Restream.
That's correct.
Okay.
And also recording it on the Dell PC. So I have a separate disk to record the video signal, so that I can pull that and then go edit it and put different things up later.
Okay. So what I'm wondering, how do you handle slides?
Okay. I have the slides prepared in Keynote, which is the same as PowerPoint. It's just the Mac version of it. in this MacBook Pro, which is right alongside me. And the remote control for that is handled by the minister, and he runs the slides forward. I run the MacBook Pro as a video output. I take the HDMI out from the MacBook Pro and run it into the Dell PC as a separate video input.
Mm-hmm.
And then
So where would that be? Just to get some clarity for those who are watching the video. So you're basically you're running your MacBook Pro here.
Mm-hmm.
That's where your keynote is, and you're feeding that into the Dell, again, handled by Wirecast.
That is correct.
Okay, good.
And also the slides are going to a display monitor, a big display monitor in the front. It's now a 75-inch monitor, and a conference monitor in the back for the minister and the people on the platform, and then a monitor in the lobby.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I always appreciated, when you and I are now the most senior on this team, right?
Okay.
And we've done a couple of projects together, and pre-COVID, really helping ministries, getting to just a setup. So that's why I appreciate, having this time today to just talk a little bit how we can set it up in a different way. Let's talk about cost for a moment, because I think, that might also be interesting to those who watch this video. What are your costs? I mean, what does Wirecast cost to buy initially, and then buy, what are, you mentioned $100 for support, and you can talk a little bit about how much worth that is. But what's the cost on the Wirecast side?
I don't remember the initial cost. It was actually bought by Unity Church of Hawaii when I was there, and it was purchased before I arrived here at Unity of New Braunfels. The $100 a year I pay is not necessary to pay, but it offers upgrades and telephone support. So I've been doing that since I got here, and that's $100 a year. In addition, of course, is the cost for the DeckLink Duo card for the PC. And, adding all these costs together, I'm probably the Blackmagic switching boxes would be more economical, but this is what I have, and this is what I'm used to, and it works well for me.
Well, in the end, I think that's a realization we all need to come to, is it's a mix between the budget that the church gives us, right? In my case, I'm the one who is actually calling the budget. So Eldon and Lane, they just have to deal with it, right? And but so that's one factor, and I think it's a crucial factor, and I think that's why I think our team is so important, and these videos that we do, because my hope is that it will provide those who are in charge of technology to actually convince a board. Ultimately, I'm saying I'm in charge. I'm really not. The board is really who makes the decision how much money goes into technology. And because I'm a techie person, it was easy for me to convince the board, because I'm part of it, to say, you guys got to spend some money here, right? But in the end, we're all probably dealing with, smaller churches, larger churches have all our own limitations here. And what I like about your setup, Owen, is it really seems to be a lot simpler than ours. And it seems to be a really, a really good way for, I would say, a starter setup.
Mhm.
Even though Wirecast probably adds some complexity to it for sure. Thanks, Bob, for joining us. Eldon, Bob, do you have any questions for Owen?
Not really. I mean, it's Owen's made it pretty clear, and with this diagram, we kind of see what he's got going. One thing that's interesting to me is, we use a DeckLink Duo too, but totally differently. Where Owen's using it to bring SDI inputs into his PC video, we're actually using ours to take video out from our Pro Presenter, different screens, and using it as a video output. And the fact that it can do that, you can use it either as an SDI in or out. That's really a handy card. One difference is, since we use Macs, we don't have PCIe slots to plug the card into. So we've got I think we use a One World Computing. It's a Mercury something box. It's a PCI extension. It just plugs into Thunderbolt 3 and brings it out. We've got our DeckLink card in that. So, yeah, I mean, you can use all these parts and do some many different things.
Yes, and we were a Mac house in Hawaii, and that's what we did too. We had an external box for the DeckLink card.
Right. And let's see. Yeah, at this time, this diagram that Jean-Marie just brought up, back then, we were really just using one. We had a single DeckLink card to get video out that we were sending to our streaming box. And at that time, we were using another device, HDMI box, that would let our Mac Mini do more displays. And that's what we're using for the stage, or the projector and some other displays. But once we switched over to that 4 input, the Duo, it really let us do a lot more with our video.
I think, and Bob, I want to give you also an opportunity to kind of like share where I don't think we have a profile of your setup, do we?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe you do.
Yeah. So what I think will be really interesting for everyone who's watching the recording or is here is to understand what the significant differences are. Because I know our setup at Unity Fort Worth, looks a lot more complex. When you look at it, what we do differently definitely is how we link into the Pro Presenter and how we use Pro Presenter. We have actually, you remember this, Eldon, when we first did the research on what kind of presentation software we're going to use, we actually found one particular church, a Unity church, who used Pro Presenter, but they were using it in a way that didn't really take what's the word, Eldon?
Well, it didn't make use of all of its features. They were
Yeah.
They were using it more to bring in music, I think, and I'm not even sure they were using it for slides at the time.
I don't think so. And I think that's really the difference between the way you're using it with Wirecast and the way we're using it with, how we actually use the presentation software. So for example, in our case, we don't use Keynote, right? So we actually have Pro Presenter being pretty much what's the word? kind of like the main software around which everything evolves, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see this here in the profile, you know, how we have a 4-monitor, actually 5-monitor setup. And we do all our camera work, which is, you know, we use a Blackmagic A10 Mini Extreme, which in your case, you're doing this all in Wirecast, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, one thing we've changed a little bit from this when this diagram was put together. If you'll notice, we show that little box that's running the projector and doing some different things. Well, we've got rid of that, and we're actually using the Duo 2 to handle a lot of the video stuff. But yeah, one of the things when we first started looking at this, our idea was to use the ATEM switcher and just really use it with one of the software packages. One I was looking at that really looked promising was called eCam. And but then once we found out about ProPresenter, that just shifted everything. So we're using the ATEM switcher. It's an ISO version we can plug that drive into it, and it'll record every audio and video input that's coming into it. So what we're using it for, we're bringing our cameras in as an HDMI. On the long runs, we use SDI to HDMI converter there at the ATEM, so we can bring in a long SDI feed from a camera. But we're using it really just to switch cameras, but we're also running the audio feed into it from our soundboard. And we use that. There's a built-in equalizer, some really serious software in the ATEM. And so we have all sorts of signal processing. And then we send that back out through the USB to our ProPresenter computer. So really, the audio's coming from the ATEM, through the ATEM into ProPresenter. The video camera work is coming in to ProPresenter. And then once it gets into ProPresenter, there's just so much we can do because ProPresenter has a feature they call screens and looks, and you can set up as many different monitors or screens as you've got outputs from your computer to do it. So we have a screen set up for the projector. We have a screen set up for the monitor, the stage monitor, or like you use, Owen, whatever, what did you call it? Your
A confidence monitor.
Yeah, we have that. We also have a screen set up. This screen is totally what goes out through the SDI on the Duo card into our web presenter box down here that we stream out to restream on. So we have one look coming from ProPresenter that or screen. They also have look, so you can have the overlays and everything different for each screen. So what we're showing on the inside projector, the lyrics will be in a totally different place than what we're doing for the live stream. And also in ProPresenter, it takes the place of your any slide software because it's all just dealt with in ProPresenter. And you know, Lane's really the one that knows all this. I learned a lot about it just so we'd know to buy it, but she's taken it and run with it, and it's just amazing what you can do. Also, oh yeah, go ahead.
Let me just show you. So I just logged into our computer. That's Mac Mini 1. So we have 2 Mac Minis. Mac Mini 1 is the one that runs ProPresenter. So you see here, I'm actually logging in to the ProPresenter software, and this is last Sunday service. And what Eldon is talking about, you can see here on the right, where we have these different views. So we have views where you have a projector view, a live stream view, stage monitor view, the foyer view. You can set up multiple views, and they're programmable, so you can see how it actually moves automatically over. And then what I do when I work on my message, I basically just set up those slides. So I go into edit mode and I work on the different slides that I want displayed. But what Eldon was just talking about too is for the music. So you can see here our entire order of service, how how the opening song actually looks like. So you can actually go through every single slide, and you can set up each view differently the way you want it to. So that's why we chose ProPresenter as our kind of like main point of action, so that we have all the inputs coming into ProPresenter. We're kind of like dealing with it. But the other philosophy that we had is really to externalize anything that will be power intensive into its own unit. That's why we actually have the Blackmagic ATM.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have our webcaster, which is over here on the left. We are externalizing stuff rather than relying on everything having to go through or be in one computer. And probably it's fair to say, Eldon,
Mm-hmm.
that this is more expensive to go this route. But what would you say it has been your experience in terms of using our setup?
Well, one thing, once we got everything going like that, things just work so well. I know when you're relying on a computer, I've heard of people having trouble with it, really stressing the limits of their computer when it's having to take care of all the live streaming conversion and all that, where we just set it into that one Blackmagic box that takes care of all that. And the box knows where we tell it, where to send the video. Right now we're sending it to Restream, that breaks it out and sends it to YouTube and Facebook. And that little box costs $500. And it really keeps you from having to buy such a powerful computer too. You don't have to spend as much on that part of it. The ATEM switcher takes care of, again, all the camera inputs. And although it's kind of expensive, when you start looking at buying, say, these boxes that convert your HDMI signal into a USB to go into your computer for a camera or a video source, there you start taking up a lot of USB ports, and it just really that even if you buy the small ATEM switcher with just 4 camera inputs, you can get it now for what, $300? I don't know, not very much, and it's like buying 4 of those little external boxes we're talking about. Like we use the Pingo grabbers to get HDMI into a computer, and for some cases we don't run everything just through the switcher. Like we have an Apple TV box that we use to bring in from the platform an iPad, so Jean-Marie can show things and make drawings on his iPad, and we can bring them as a camera output. originally we were going to do that just through our ATEM, send it in, but we use one of those little Pingo boxes we were talking about and just bring it right into the ProPresenter computer. And then ProPresenter can just select all these video inputs as a camera. So when Lane wants to show that, we just hit a deal and it changes and it sends the iPad off to the screen. So ProPresenter is just really an amazing thing.
Let's talk about cost for a moment. So, I remember, Owen, that Wirecast, because Eldon and I early on, we looked at Wirecast because of your recommendation. And I think it was to buy it, it was like something like $800.
That's probably right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, and I totally agree with you that, you know, having the support, the $100 for support, that's like nothing. You know, having the ability to call a support system to help out is worth the money for sure. What did we look at? We looked at Wirecast, Eldon.
Wirecast and Ecamm.
Ecamm.
And those are the main ones, I think.
OBS.
We looked at that, but our take on everything we read was it was a little hard to learn.
Yeah.
That's what we use.
Right.
Yeah, I think at that point when we looked at it, OBS, because it's an open source software system, we just felt there were so many complaints about it that we kind of felt we want to stay away from it. I think in the meantime, it probably matured quite a bit, and it's probably not as critical anymore. But OBS for us was like, let's not go there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let's pay ProPresenter. How much do we pay, Eldon? Like,
you know, I don't know.
$300 a year.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you don't pay it, it'll keep working for you. It's just that you don't get any upgrades or updates or any support. But
yeah.
And another reason too, about the time we were looking, ProPresenter had come out with this new version that added all these screens and all the looks, and it was just a totally different animal than when we first started looking, I think. So that was another thing kind of pushed us toward it when we found out what it would do, and the fact that they are continually adding features. It's not just like they got something that works and have been sitting on it.
We developed a workaround since we don't have ProPresenter that would work for our slides and for Wirecast. And what that is when we have songs, we have the lyrics at the bottom with a colorful slide with the bottom grayed out so you can read the lyrics. And then I edit that bottom thing and lay it over live video. So I've got live video with the lyrics on the bottom, and everybody in the chapel is seeing the screen, the beautiful screen with the song title and all that stuff and the lyrics. And so we have a situation where we can do both just using Wirecast. Yeah, I must say I have a
discussion is, oh, there you are. You were kind of like frozen for like 10 seconds. Go ahead.
Oh, me or someone else?
You.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Did you hear about the lyrics and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we missed so start from the lyrics and then just go from there.
Okay. So we have slides with two lines of lyrics, and the next slide, the next two lines of lyrics. The lyrics are on the bottom of the slide, and so what we've done is we've grayed out the background of the slide a little bit so the lyrics stand out in the chapel. And then what I've done is just taken that bottom part of the slide and keyed it over my live video, so that I have live video of people singing and stuff and performing with the lyrics on the bottom. And so I can switch to that using Wirecast. So it's a workaround, since I don't have the magic of Pro Presenter to use.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, I'm kind of curious about your setup. Just kind of want to give you an opportunity to kind of like give input, or if you have any.
Well, let me do a reverse here. Apologize for not being around for the last 2 or 3 months. 2 of those months on our day here, we were traveling. Health issue took out the 3rd month. Secondly,
Sorry.
it happened. It's okay. It's all for the good right now.
Yeah.
Secondly, we attended, this is history for all of us that are on today's screen here, Shad's presentation. Well, that has pretty well thrown us into some confusion. Our minister coordinator was with us. We were supposed to send, there were 7 of us that were going out. I'm in northern Georgia, and that presentation was in South Carolina, Greenville. And 7 of us were going out to see that. And the day before, 3 came down with COVID.
Mm.
Yes, yeah. One of 2 of those were board members. So we've got all the notes. I was there. Mr. Coordinator was there. We've got all the notes, as well as the after notes that have been sent to us. And we've been trying to get, well, the minister coordinator is trying to get the whole board. I am now not on the board. I'm still the tech supervisor. But fast forward, at our November board meeting, they're going to discuss whether or not we're going to continue live streaming, or we'll go to a hybrid live stream in Zoom, or what's going to happen.
And that is based on Chad's talk on
his initial presentation that we were number 27 around the country, and he's made several more since then. Yes, that was, we went in there knowing, because I was in on several of our presentations here, where, different people who had seen it, discussed it, and brought in information. So we didn't go in totally cold, but there was enough put out that at that time that has now thrown this up in the air to, I can't tell you what's going to happen at the November board meeting.
Okay.
So
can you tell us what ideas you were tossing around as a result of Chad's presentation?
Well, the idea is, it's good. It's actually, I wish I could do it in a simplified manner. Let me try. 1, continue what we're doing. That becomes a little more complicated because I'll be retiring from the tech streaming program at our church as of January 1st.
Mm.
So as if everything else wasn't enough to throw things in the air. Okay. Some of the things that came out, do we do all Zoom? I believe it's Unity of Gainesville, if I'm not mistaken, and I forgot off the top of my head who their minister is doing Zoom, and they've got quite a few people on that, and it seems to be working out pretty well for them. Again, that's hearsay. I did not hear that directly. Our minister coordinator is checking down there. So that's one. Another one is go the way we're going. Okay, briefly, we've got 59, 60 church members, of which right now we're getting between this past week, we had 25. The week before that, we had 36. I mean, it's up and down. It's bouncing all over the place.
In person?
I'm sorry, you're right. 36 in person.
Huh.
This past week, we had, with our 25, we had 4 online.
Mm-hmm.
Our online numbers have really dropped. And that, as you can surmise easily, is what's causing some of this. Well, the money that we've invested, the money that we need to keep going. I've now got an assistant, 22-year-old whiz kid. Woo! He's taught me a lot. Anyways, so he's our only paid staff.
So that, you know, I really want to bring in Randy on this discussion, because I think Randy has a really good perspective when it comes to online. But I do really appreciate your perspective, Bob, because it does address the concerns that I have as a senior minister.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how much do we actually want to invest in online live stream? Because it does allow people to basically not participate.
Right.
You know, so Randy, I'm glad you were able to join us.
Sorry, I got
You're right in the middle of the things.
Yeah,
I know you probably have a lot to say about this, so I'm just going to give you, you know, the voice.
You're gonna give me the soapbox, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Streaming is a dual-edged sword, quite honestly. It can be good, it can be bad. It's all in the individual perspective. And I've attended Shad's workshop, and I don't necessarily agree with a lot of what he says on things. Mm-hmm. Here's what it boils down to, quite honestly, in my opinion only. And this is how we are approaching it from Unity of Melbourne's perspective. I have, and I pay for a audio engineer. I pay for a video engineer. We run up to a 5-camera setup. We use an application similar to OBX called vMix. We simultaneously stream on Facebook and YouTube. The numbers, if you were looking at strictly a return on investment, we have anywhere from 7 to 15 live viewers across those 2 platforms. If you looked at it from a perspective of, well, this is all we have, why are we spending money on not only equipment, but personnel to do that? What I would offer from that perspective is short-sighted, because not everyone watches at 10:30 a.m. Eastern time. We may have anywhere from 25 to 75 views across both YouTube and Facebook platforms during that week. Within the same month, that 75 views for a service or a meditation, and I'll get into that in a second, may jump up to 300. So at what point do you consider the short-term cost and return on investment? Now, I will tell you that, does 10 views equal $35? The answer is, I don't have the metrics to verify that. And at what point, if you use the same metric, I'm sorry, Jean-Marie, for going off on this. If you use the same metric of somebody sitting in the sanctuary who donates $5 or who donates nothing to the same person sitting in the next row or the next pew who donates $125, it's, you really can't use the methodology of return on investment from a monetary standpoint when looking at streaming a service or meditation. The other thing that we do, because we are streaming and we're recording, what we do is my video engineer at the end of the day goes in and extracts out of an hour 10-minute service. He'll extract just the talk. He'll extract also the meditation. And within the meditation, he takes it as is, but then we'll also convert that into a social media feed, a 9x16. Those we post on our weekly newsletter. We call them reprises. Here's the reprise of last week's lesson. Here's a reprise of the meditation. Here's a social media formatted version of the meditation. Those feed into the views, the ultimate views, whether it be insights or the metrics from Facebook and YouTube that are not real time from Sunday. So those feedback, and it's literally another category because these are separate videos. So long story short, we have not taken the time to look at how to monetize our previous service, message, 16:9 meditation, 9x16 meditation. That's something for maybe the future, don't know. But the belief that I have, and that we're operating here at Unity of Melbourne, is if we are reaching one person at a time that's convenient to them, we are expanding the Unity teachings outside of a physical location at a specific time. And that's a cost that we are willing to bear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'd like to support what Randy was saying. And I am biased because I want to feel like what I'm doing has value. But I have a couple anecdotes. Occasionally, a newcomer will come and they'll say, "We saw you online."
Yeah.
And it appealed to us, and we thought we'd like to see what it's like here. Another one occurred some time ago. A gal who had really bad experiences, church experiences earlier in her life, decided she was never ever going to a church again, and found us online and watched our live stream for over a year, finally came to the church, and ultimately became the board president. She became very active in the church. So I think that does happen. And religion has a bad name in a lot of areas, in a lot of communities, and And if people can find us online and see that we're not what they thought we might be, that could be a valuable thing.
I was going to make another point, but John or Bob, go ahead. You had a question.
Yeah, we've got a little bit. We're in the mountains of North Georgia. That's the good news, especially during the summer or the fall when our population probably doubles for 2 weeks. But the reality is 1/3 of our in-person attendance migrates back to usually Florida. There are some other areas. So we lose that. Now, a question though, Randy, in your earlier discussion there, can you ballpark for me, if it's possible or practical, for your 2 engineers, roughly per month, just ballparking, what's that run you?
65 and 55 a week.
70.
So
120.
110 a week.
Yeah.
450.
Yeah.
A month. Now I'm fortunate because we are in my video engineer is a University of Florida film grad.
Wow.
Who still lives at home and has a full-time job. This is he doesn't drink beer, but it's his spending money. Our audio engineer is the son of a music store owner, and he's kind of the manager. It's his mad money. He works for us for 2 hours on a Sunday morning and spends the rest of Sunday with his girlfriend. And then he's at the store the rest of the week. So we're not paying living wages. And if both of these individuals left me, I'd be sitting back there. And when they go on vacation or something like that, I'm the one back there.
Yeah.
But we're fortunate to have them, and we've had them for a number of years. I've had Joseph, my video engineer, since we started at Unity Serving Military Overseas, where we were doing live broadcasts to service members who were stationed and living in the European theater and the Indo-Pacific theater. So we understand we at Unity in Melbourne, we understand the snowbird thing. We have snowbirds that head from Florida up north, whether it be Michigan or upstate New York or things like that. And they still attend their home churches when they're gone in the summertime and things.
Yeah.
But they'll check in every now and then with our live stream just to see what's happening, what's going on, and they're on our e-newsletter as well. So but we're very familiar with the snowbirds.
Well, in that same situation towards the end, what we've noticed is that those snowbirds primarily tithe to their home church, which is we'll call it the winter church, if you will.
Yeah.
So our total expenses roughly per month. Well, we got a Zoom. That's irrelevant to this discussion. 210 a month is what we're spending, and is what the board's now looking at. And again, it goes back to the larger discussion.
I would encourage the conversation, because there is always a tendency of the board to look at contributions and attendance and think that butts in seats equate to more income, more revenue. And that is an absolute false premise. And I would encourage the same ideology, the same thought process go into whether it be snowbirds or whether it be video the streaming capability.
Right.
It is not a viable, nor is it a valid metric or correlation.
Absolutely.
I'd agree with
I,
you.
I 100% agree with you, Randy, on this. The whole butts in the seats debate, I've been around this now for maybe 15 years.
Yep.
And it's just useless.
I've got you by about 7 or 8 years, Jean-Marie.
Yeah.
It's an education process because people on the board have an idea, and I don't know whether it's ingrained or not. One of the things that I've started to do is to deflect that thought process by encouraging them to remember that traditional denominations are supported through an organizational hierarchy, whether it be the Methodist Church, whether it be the Catholic Church, whether it be a synagogue, whether it be whoever, are supported by a state, regional, national organization. Unity's not, as we all know. Unity is an individual entity, financial entity by itself. And that's where the focus needs to be. And again, it's not so much butts and seats. How do you grow an individual's prosperity consciousness? That is the key. It's not about you can have an automaton sitting in the third pew, and that automaton is going to give you the same amount of money as somebody who doesn't have the prosperity consciousness.
Sure.
Yep. So, looking at the time, we're almost out of time today. I think this was a really great discussion. We started out on, how differently we can structure our live stream, and it still works for us. And I'm hoping, those of us who attended today and those of us who watch the recording will probably benefit, hopefully benefit from it. But I'm also inspired about the whole idea of, again, why does live streaming make sense? And I'm wondering if that could be another topic to talk about. Because obviously, as we learn from, our CEO at Unity Worldwide Ministries, there's some ideas that we learn from that go against possibly our own ideas that we think that are relevant. And I'm wondering if that would be a good topic to talk about. And maybe that's a topic, again, that we may choose not to record in order to be open and honest about it. Right?
That's
Because,
sad.
well, ultimately, honestly, guys, I've been doing this now for 7 years. Owen has been part of this for most of his time. And in the end, what I truly care about is that we all learn from each other.
Sure. And I apologize. You all were well into hardware discussions, and I intentionally did not want to divert it from where you were talking, but
no, I love it, Bob.
Okay.
You have to have that conversation. You have to have that conversation.
Have to have that conversation, right?
And
because we are in the middle of it. That's the truth. We're in the middle of it. We're the ones to have to figure it out. And so why not have the conversation?
And I wanted to say I'm grateful to Shad for opening this up for us to look at and talk about, because
yes,
extremely valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Chuck was excellent. In the last hour and a half, 2 hours was this topic, what we're talking about. And I appreciate what I've heard and what I get from all you guys. So that's been very helpful to me personally.
Well, I think we all bring to this discussion what we need to bring to it. And I really appreciate everyone joining us today. And thank you so much. And we'll close for today. And next time, let's talk about why live stream is important. Okay. And maybe we will or we will not record it. And, okay.
Good.
Have a good one.
Appreciate all you guys.
Bye-bye.